was before quali.
For everyone who doesn't know, there was an incident where there was a terrorist attack. I guess that's what it's
a missile strike
in an Aramco oil facility in Jeddah, and essentially there was like concern over whether the race should go ahead or not, whether like the drivers felt safe or not. The team principal seemed on board.
The
drivers took like 4 or 5 hours.
The drivers normally have a meeting after Friday practice. That went on until like 2:30 a.m. local time. So yeah, they spent like 4 hours discussing this kind of stuff with senior people in F1 and also the Saudi, like they had Saudi representatives there as well.
I'm guessing it'd be like someone from the defense ministry or something like that. It is interesting to see if that had like something to like, you know, like the guys who didn't perform as well, were they kind of a bit off, not just in terms of drivers but in terms of also like people on like the pit wall and stuff, because obviously going through something like that, especially like because it's like you can see it's like right over there, it's obviously a bit unnerving, especially if you've never experienced anything like that before. It kind of might push you off your game a bit.
There were also, actually worth mentioning, 3 team principals came up with horrific statements about, like obviously you kind of want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but Helmut Marko came out and said Max wasn't afraid but Checo kind of was, but he should be used to it coming from Mexico City or something like that. Something along the lines of implying that Mexico City is like dangerous. It wasn't great. Toto Wolff then said we can't judge, we can't compare situations or judge it that much because, you know, maybe in the Western world, if you have a missile strike very close to a track, you wouldn't go ahead with it. But here it's part of their culture. He used the word culture as like a thing. So you could tell where he was trying to go with it, but it came out horrendously wrong. It was really bad. And then Andreas Seidel also said something really bad. Like I actually can't remember what he said, but I know Andreas Seidel said something really stupid as well.
Can we just talk before we keep going? Like before I forget, I just want to mention how, you know, we spoke last time about how they say Bahrain, but as the locals say Bahrain.
Yeah.
And they keep saying Jeddah. It's Jeddah.
Oh yeah.
What's Jeddah? Jeddah. Why is Jeddah?
Jeddah like the cheese.
It's the Jeddah. It's Jeddah. Why is Jeddah, bro? It irritates. You know how Bahrain annoys. I didn't realize the whole Bahrain thing. Bahrain, but like Jeddah annoys me so much. Like, come on.
I don't mind that one as much purely because like they do Bahrain, which is like horrendously wrong, but it's like the English way of pronouncing it, I guess. But then they'll try and do but the locals say Bahrain. Like it's when you're trying to like say it properly and then still say it wrong, that's when it's annoying. But I'm trying to find this Andreas Seidel quote, but I actually I'm trying to see what he said.
I'm guessing it's just something along the lines of...
But it was very similar to the other stuff, where it's just, I don't know, it just really brings out how, like, detached from reality these people are, because, like, you need to be very careful with what you said, and with what you say in general, and...
What you're implying as well.
Yeah, exactly, there's just a lot of, I don't know, like, there's a big spotlight on F1 at this point, and they always use the same excuse every time, which is, like, if you want to justify going to places in the world, I understand. Like, you can't... there's a line... You need to decide where the line is in terms of where politics crosses over in sports and stuff. And if you want to show statements in solidarity, cool. If you want to race in countries where they've had a bit of a dodgy past, then cool. Because I guess, realistically...
Every country has had a dodgy
Every single country would be taken... Like, America, we're going to America, like, in the start of May. The war crimes they've committed is horrendous. So if we're still going to America, I don't know. But then, like, to justify it, their justification is always, when we go to these countries, we set an example or something, or, like, we can show exposure and, like, whatever. So they're acting as if, you know, F1 just going to Saudi Arabia is going to be, like...
change their culture.
It's trying to change the entire world. Like, oh, yeah, we have a race in Saudi Arabia, and then we show them how cool Western life is, and then, you know, we come in, and then they're going to go, oh, you see that F1 race? That was good. You know what we should do? We should... overthrow our dictatorship and completely change how we run our country. Like,
we're gonna get arrested for this. The Saudis are just coming from.
I'm just saying, like, it's if you want to justify it, cool, but come up with a stronger way of doing it, or at least come up with a proper angle.
I think it's just the way they said it that maybe came out very wrong. Like, I think obviously if you live in the Middle East, you will have probably experienced something like this at some point, but that doesn't mean it's part of the culture, or like the way in which it came out is just very wrong.
Yeah.
Obviously, with
Yeah.
everything that's happening, if you say, since the Middle East and the instability, people have most likely experienced something like this, I'll be like, okay. But when you say it's part of the culture, it just comes out as like,
Yeah, it doesn't help, especially recently with the whole quotes that are coming out from all these journalists about Ukraine and stuff. It's just, it doesn't look good on anyone. Like, I don't know, it's bad. The problem is they're trying to run both ways. Like, instead of saying, okay, we're not mixing sport and politics at all, we're still gonna race in Russia, we're still gonna do all of this stuff. We're gonna be completely.
some, but not all.
That's what I mean. It's just kind of like, well, where do you draw the line? And if they need to decide, obviously there is a line to be drawn, so you need to be active and say like, this is where
But
we're
I'd
doing
much
it, and
rather
this is why.
either you cut it fully out of sport, or
Both are wrong.
like I actually like I didn't want Nikita Mazepin to be in F1, but I disagree with him being removed, because
Same. Yeah.
like the guy didn't really do very much. Like obviously it's funny to look at him setting up the foundation and stuff. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But as in terms of he complied with all the rules they put on him.
For context, he set up a foundation similar to Lewis's on a
To help
what's it
basically
called, diversity and stuff,
Yeah.
to help drivers or athletes who have been kicked out of sports based on political situations and stuff.
I disagree with that, because he complied with everything the FIA and the team wanted, and so I don't see why that's like, he didn't really, at that point I didn't think he deserved that. You know, like he didn't go
Yeah.
and like, if he'd went and showed like the political whatever it was, like he said something, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah,
maybe.
if he
But he
agreed with it,
didn't
yeah.
do, he literally, whatever, like he was at that point, he's like, whatever you want me to do or say, I will do and say that, you know? So I just felt that was a bit unfair, to be honest. But I think moving on, talk about like,
Yeah,
that
I
was
say,
a big
well,
part.
that's the one thing. That's the big side there. Obviously, F1 not very proactive in general with things. They were even slow to kick.
It's never really.
They've always been like that. They were even slow to kick Russia off the calendar. So they, it happened after they've moved the Champions League final from Russia. Like FIFA,
all
football
the
did
big.
yeah, all the major sports did things, and then F1 came last, which is what we'd expect.
F1's always been kind of like very slow to adapt.
Yeah,
Because it's like, old people, not old people, like, what's called like a billionaires clubs, like, or it's an old gentleman's club, So it's very slow to react in that sense. So I do understand that part of it, but I think with what's happening now, like F1 has to be a bit more agile and kind of adapt to the situation a lot quicker.
Yeah, they need to figure out where they're trying to do it, because fair enough, you can't kick every race out of the calendar. You're going to need to go to, it is a world championship, but then also you can't completely separate, like you can't be completely blind and ignore everything, because at some point it's got to seep in realistically. Either way, a lot of people didn't want the Jeddah Circuit, or Jeddah, I'm doing it now as well, this is bad, the Jeddah Circuit on the calendar anyway, for safety reasons.
Yeah.
So
But this is not related to MSI, it's just
no, yeah,
a
so
track
completely
layout.
unrelated. They don't like the track layout. It is the fastest street circuit on the calendar. A lot of blind corners. They've adjusted the barriers to try and help with that, but still a lot of people have a lot of like safety
I
concerns.
honestly like Max was saying, the twisty part of the circuit is like just make it flat, like a straight. I just think that's dead. Like I agree with them like widening it a bit, so you kind of get a sense of where you're going a bit better. But Baku at certain points is worse. Like, the castle part that's like this big.
Oh, yeah, but I guess the difference they're trying to say there
So
is
it's
it's
slower.
slow, yeah, exactly.
But I think that's the thing, the twisty part of the section, like that twisty part.
Oh, to be
literally-
fair,
that's not that bad to be honest.
it's the same as Baku. So coming out of the final proper corner in Baku, it's like,
It's not as
I'm
strict.
trying to describe it. So like, once you get out of the castle section, there's a fast bit where Pierre Gasly actually almost ran into the back of his teammate. Left-hander, you go down the hill, another left-hander. At some point around there is the end of sector 2, and then you go full throttle into like a left-right kind of dancing bit, and then you get the DRS line, and then you go through the main straight, which is really long. That kind of twisty bit just before the DRS is very similar to like, it's a shorter version of the Saudi bit.
But it's not as flat out as the Saudi one. I think that's the concern. Is the Saudi one you are going pretty much flat out through it, and so if you do get in an accident, it's like the Mick Schumacher was involved in a 33G accident, which is obviously very intense. But the car was designed a bit differently this year to kind of absorb the impact and protect the driver a bit better, and it did its job. He's
Yeah, do you want to mention the Mick incident?
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned.
No, but I'm saying like going to like what actually.
Oh
like,
yeah, so he basically he overdrove the car. I think that's the best way of saying it is like if you don't get what that means, just go and look at Yuki crashing the whole thing. You're extracting a bit more than the car has to give, and what ends up happening is perhaps you lose a bit of grip. You end up losing control of the car to a certain degree, and you end up smacking in the wall. Obviously, with certain like tracks, you've got a lot of room to kind of get out, maybe join in, or just you're stuck in the gravel.
Go over the white line.
With the Jeddah, you're just in the wall. I think that's the exciting part. I think there is no track like Jeddah, and I really like that. And we haven't had we've had like Formula 2 racing there, we had Formula 1. We haven't had any like major incident. Like I don't know, I say major incident. Like Mick is fine. There's nothing really like that much, and I think it's a very interesting track. I think maybe widening the track would be something to look at, but I don't think changing the layout is very feasible because it's only on the it's only on the
here's the thing. So
a year or two.
This was meant to be the last race in Jeddah, and then they'd go and build an entirely new race for Saudi Arabia next year. So still within the same country but somewhere else. I'm not sure where. It's looking like apparently construction for that circuit hasn't even started yet. So it's looking like Jeddah might be on the calendar next year.
I think I think it's probably one of my favorite tracks. I think having the helmet view this year has added so much. I don't think Bahrain didn't add much to Bahrain, to be honest, because Bahrain's kind of like a traditional circuit in that sense.
Yeah.
But with Jeddah, especially like that first part where it's like you go like that twisty part of the track, and you're just looking at them and like they just keep going like it's like I think people say I can drive a Formula 1 car, and then they just see that and they're like it's moving by so quickly, and like especially with the bouncing of the car now, like you can see how strong the vibrations are and how difficult it is to actually control the car. So whoever says you can drive a Formula 1 car, don't trust them. They don't know what they're talking about basically. But yeah, after qualifying, we had that incident with I think that was Q2.
What happened in Q4?
Mick crashed in Q2. Yeah, he crashed in Q2.
Oh yeah. After Lewis wasn't involved in Q2, knocked out in Q1 for the first time since Brazil 2017.
Don't cry.
First time on pace since
don't cry.
Silverstone 2009.
He was very slow.
Yeah, it was really bad. So what they're saying is the team made slight changes on George's car and on Lewis's. Lewis's clearly didn't work at all, and then he had too much front end, so it was sliding around.
He was saying that the car is very nervous. But what I keep hearing now is that it's interesting that Lewis is performing badly. Let's say by his standards, performing badly, and I'm hearing a lot of like. He was only winning because he was in the best car. It's the same tape like Sebastian Vettel had to go through.
Oh yeah, So Vettel got a lot of the whole he can't overtake because he'd just get pole and win the race. So people said he couldn't overtake, and now they're doing the same thing with Lewis. Saying
I think Sebastian staying at Ferrari for a few years did really it did a lot for his brand image, and like people now like him. People back then didn't know. Him. Lewis needs a while of that, but I guess Lewis I don't think once he's done with the sport, I don't think Lewis will stay in the sport, so I don't think he cares as much. Yeah, the thing is, I feel like Lewis driving around at the back wouldn't make people like him. It would just, I don't know, I feel like him retiring, and then you give it a bit longer, then they'll like him. Yeah, but I think it's perhaps the difference in character. Sebastian has that jokey bit, Lewis does not really have that as much.
Not anymore. He definitely shows it, and he has it sometimes. He'll come out of it, but in general media, he won't do that stuff.
Yeah. But anyways, Lewis out in Q1. We go to Q2. We have the big accident. We're delayed for quite a bit while they're clearing the track. I say that's the one thing with Jeddah that's a bit difficult, is removing the stuff. I will say they are using the safety car a lot this year, and they're not just red flagging everything. Last year they were just red flagging everything.
It's so stupid.
And they are giving the safety car enough time.
Yeah.
They're not just
why.
bringing it in quickly. So I'd say like they are definitely like improved that part of it. I'd say in terms of stewarding as well, like the past 2 races have been good in that sense. We haven't like all the major issues have been solved very quickly, and I don't think really we've seen the stewards get involved that much. But it's been relatively clean. I think going into qualifying we had that Verstappen. I thought it was going to be between Verstappen and Leclerc for the pole.
Oh yeah, the fight.
And then Perez just came out of nowhere and
it's incredible. Yeah, so like
his first pole position at arguably the hardest track to take pole position. Like it is the hardest track to drive. Let's be honest. Like I know people say Monaco's difficult for like pole and stuff, but I'd say Saudi's probably the most difficult, especially because of the amount of forces your body's going through.
It's longer, realistically.
It's a lot quicker as well. So you like with Monaco it's quite slow. So like certain parts are quite slow. So you can, get a breath. With Saudi, you don't have that chance until maybe the last corner, but then it's just straight.
It's too late, yeah. But you're right. So like Leclerc did his classic thing where he's on pace with Sainz, and then in the last runs he just puts 4/10 on Sainz out of nowhere, which is surprising because Sainz I think had provisional pole. So it was looking like he might actually get his first pole position. But then it went to Perez, who's got the record now for the longest wait for a pole position. They said 215 races, which is insane to be honest. I think his debut
the one before him was
2011.
Mark Webber with like 118 or something.
Also a Red Bull driver, surprisingly. So there's that.
Old Red Bull driver as well. No, an academy driver.
Red Bull's second driver.
Yeah.
Also at number 2.
Well, I think like if you look at the race overall, I think there are like certain things we have to kind of touch on.
Yes.
So
we'll start with the front, right?
Do you want to start with the front?
Yeah, we might as well start with the interesting bit. We'll start with the battle. We'll jump about a bit. We'll
okay.
start with the battle.